Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
We bring you this special radio broadcast.
It's starting.
I'm sure a lot of people think this is just some radio shtick.
Let's talk to these people.
Let's talk about culture.
It's a primitive culture.
Let's talk about what's best in life.
What is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of your women.
Talk about crushing your enemies.
This time, it's for real.
Let's talk party politics. But don't expect the same old kind of talk radio show.
But a new wind was about to blow.
On this show, you get the high-flying conservative columnist from National Review Online, Jim Geraghty, and the wit and wisdom and experience of broadcast veteran Mickey White. So let's get to it. This is the Jim and Mickey Show.
Won't you stay with me? 'Cause you're all I need. This ain't perfect fantasy, but darling, stay with me.
Welcome to the Jim and Mickey Show, brought to you by Wonka Corporation, meeting all your chocolate needs this Valentine's season. At Wonka Corporation, we know recent headlines have suggested that our company has a troubled history of mistreating foreign workers, a failure to meet occupational safety and health administration regulations, and reports of excessive punishments for children who wander into restricted areas during company tours. But under our new CEO, Charlie Bucket, we're turning the page to a new era and unveiling new gourmet flavors for the chocolate lover this holiday season. Start with Gloop Soup, move on to Violet Grape, try our Veruca Salted Caramel, and of course, the new Mike and Ike with a different kind of Mike. You'll never guess what or who our secret ingredient is. I am Jim Geraghty, that is Mickey White, and welcome to episode 24 of the Jim and Mickey Show, coming to you shortly after the pop culture smorgasbord / car crash that was the Grammys recently. Mickey, you were watching. I watched as much as I could stand, and then switched over to something genuinely entertaining. What was you had a bunch of thoughts, but I suppose we should start with what they're allegedly about instead of promoting other CBS shows. And so, what did you think of the music on the Grammys?
Well, it was really and car accident is actually not necessarily the worst description that I've heard, in the sense that it really was a smash up. There were a lot of collaborations, and in my opinion, some collaborations are better in theory. Now, last night they did actually do some really fantastic musical performances. I will say that in watching the Grammys for many years because of my previous industry experience and watching it last night, I was pleased to see that the music to talking ratio was about right. There was more music than talking, which is what I like. And unfortunately, when they were talking, it was really irritating. But there were a couple great performances last night. Specifically, I was really looking forward to, and I know all of our listeners will be shocked to know that I was really looking forward to Rihanna's performance. And it was with Kanye West and with Paul McCartney, and it was really good. Rihanna can sing anything, and I'm going to be happy. She can do pretty much anything, and I'm going to be happy about it. I have a very special kind of love for her. But that was a fantastic performance. There were some other really interesting ones. I'd say I enjoyed Sam Smith with Mary J. Blige, but I enjoy Mary J. Blige, and I believe I tweeted out last night something to the effect of, you can't really hope to sing with Mary J. You can only hope to accompany her. And I thought he did a fine job with that. But it's still, she's always going to own the stage if she is the one who is on it. And, of course, it was hosted by LL Cool J, so that's always going to be a bonus for me. Always a good reason to watch. And, you know, I enjoyed Kanye's solo performance. The thing about it is I like Kanye's music. Bring it on. But I cannot tolerate him as a persona, the way he behaves. I think he may be the most megalomaniac. Megalomaniacal? Is that a word? There you go. Yeah. That's the word. That's how he is in real life, but I still really enjoy his music, which is why I prefer when they don't speak.
All right. So I want to ask you, and you said as a previous life media professional, it seemed to me all of the duets, all of the combinations there seemed to be a deliberate effort to match someone who had been nominated that year or who was very hot at this moment with someone that CBS viewers had actually heard of. Which is to say, Paul McCartney, as you mentioned. Tony
what's
Bennett,
interesting is all of those
Jones.
People have current music out right now.
True. I mean, musicians very
and
rarely.
So just like everything else, it was, a 5-day long, as what it seemed like, commercial for the music industry, including a really special part in the middle where they told us how much we sucked because they're all broke because we download their music instead of buying albums. I love being lectured to people in $1,000 gowns.
That's right.
About what I should be spending my money on.
You're taking royalties out of the food. You're taking filet mignon out of the mouths of these poor millionaires.
Dogs.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
Taking the filet mignon out of their millionaires' dogs.
So I might as well just run this by to get it out of the way quick. Am I correct that Madonna was in reruns last night? I've seen her do the whole bullfighter outfit and all that stuff a couple music videos ago. I kind of, it's kind of funny for somebody who's known for always being new and exciting and different to kind of redo something. She had a whole look and style. She
looked like a bullfighter. Mm-hmm. And the woman's 107 years old, so God bless her. But I'm telling you, I don't understand why she was on the Grammys. I mean, I know she's got, some new music coming out and whatever, but who cares? It's not very good. And she was always known for dancing, and she can't really do that anymore either. It's just very troubling. And, sometimes it's important to people to be like, maybe it's time to retire the boleros and the tights.
All right. Well, I have a feeling that as much as important as the music was to the evening, watching you on Twitter that evening, what really set you off, I suspect, was the PSAs or the reaction to that. I'm just going to toss this softball to you and let you whack at it like a piñata.
I don't want to turn this
into.
I know you're just dying because this is what made Mickey angry this week, which never happens. However, while watching the Grammys last night, yes, my listeners and followers should know that I was really upset. It began with the arrival of the big giant head of Barack Obama floating on my TV and giving me some kind of lecture about something having to do with domestic violence in the middle of an entertainment show that features, a lot of people who write about domestic violence issues, and some from both perspectives that are quite good. That's why they call it art. And those were not recognized. Instead, of course, they were ridiculed by those who don't understand. So it started out with the big floating head of Barack Obama lecturing us and his It's On Us campaign, which I can't, don't even get me started on that. That's a whole nother show. And then they had a woman come out who was introduced as a domestic violence advocate. Now, obviously, those of you who know my background, those listeners who are not familiar with it, you can always find it somewhere floating around on Twitter. There's a story out there that tells my background on domestic violence and why I get so twitchy about it, so to speak, when it's being so casually used. And last night felt very exploitive. And the woman that came out, who was seen as a domestic violence advocate, I did some research on her this morning. And by research, of course, I mean Googling, and found out that she, while an incredible survivor of a horrible situation, had written a book because she has actually survived human sex trafficking. Now, what that has to do with domestic violence is still a mystery to me. So, needless to say, I am once again disappointed in this case, Hollywood, the president, pretty much everyone, in their inability to talk about domestic violence in a way that is at least, honest and informational and accurate. And while what this woman went through was extremely, like I said, just unbelievably hard to imagine, and she is a survivor, she is not a survivor of domestic violence. It's something else entirely. And it would be nice just once if somebody could get it right.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like conflating an organized system of abuse and exploitation versus something that is so insidious because of the perception that it can happen behind closed doors and in the midst of communities you might never expect it. If you don't mind my asking, my first one, as somebody who's you obviously have a much greater depth and range of knowledge of this topic and have researched a great deal. Has anyone ever do PSAs do a damn bit of good in circumstances like this?
Well, it's really interesting because it's one of the few issues where we know that knowledge actually can help, just the quote-unquote awareness. There isn't much research necessary. It's just about letting people know where they can get resources, that they're not alone, that what they're experiencing is nothing to be ashamed of, and that it's something where, there are people out there that are willing to help, that have been there and done it, and it's so easy to get the information out, yet for some reason it always seems to get convoluted in some type of political message, and that makes me absolutely insane, head exploding, get me a shot, mad.
Okay, because you mentioned the "It's on Us" slogan, suggesting that all of us in society, top to bottom, left to right, involved in relationships or not involved in relationships, have some role in combating domestic violence, when in fact, to me, it seems like, well, the easiest way to get, to stop domestic violence is to get the perpetrators to stop doing it. Well, and those of us who aren't perpetrators don't what could those of us outside these abusive relationships
here's the most
do?
Important thing about both of those messages.
All right.
Let me know when being preachy and lecturing to people ever really works.
Okay. Because
someone who obviously, I want domestic violence awareness out there, I also want it to be well received by people and not turned off by people.
Yeah, here's the thing. So I was far from the only person to observe this on Twitter last night. Last night, Chris Brown was nominated for 3 Grammys. We all know Chris Brown beat the hell out of Rihanna, got an exceptionally light criminal sentence as a result of that. This is not in dispute. This is not alleged. We've all seen the photos. And Chris Brown gets to go on being a celebrity and being largely revered with his fan base and all that stuff. And so there's a part of me that
Two things.
Sure,
go
ahead.
I'll make it quick. And here's where all the hate letters are going to come in. 2 things, and I'll make it quick. Every relationship is complex. I have no idea what was actually done inside that car the day that particular beatdown happened. As you know, I'm a huge fan of Rihanna. Chris Brown is actually a local boy here from the Richmond area. And I do know that the two of them got together just a few years ago and several years after the incident and did a song called "It's None of Your Business." And I thought that was very apropos because I don't know if what happened was a truly domestic violence incident or a ongoing situation. I do know that, other people who have dated Rihanna have referred to her as the devil. Looking at you, Drake. Relationships are complicated. And one of the biggest things we need to stop doing is trying to lay blame on both the abuser and the victim. The abuser, stop doing it. The victim, why aren't you leaving? And instead, just try to come up with a solution. Find help for both of them. If they can move on and be happy and be successful and nonviolent and not in an abusive relationship on either side, then it's a win for everybody.
All right. I think you and I may be in an area of disagreement here, in that there's a part of me that looks at, if we really want to take this as serious as a statement from the President of the United States.
But see, that's why it's all just a bunch of crap.
Well, here's the thing, which is that in that case, shouldn't there be a sufficient social stigma against Chris Brown for what he did to not let him be? And as far as the Grammy world is concerned, and as far as the voters of the Grammys, and as far as his fan base is concerned, he's just fine. All right. And there's a part of me that says, wait a minute, how are we supposed to get on this idea of this societal collective guilt when the music industry and everybody in that Grammy concert hall wasn't willing to hold that guy accountable. All right, never mind what you know.
As you know, I'm not a fan of societal